everyone. Welcome back. If you guys were with us this morning, welcome back. If you were not with us on our Patreon this morning, then welcome for the first time. Kev and I have sort of been taking over the steering wheel on the ship for the last couple of days because we've got a few people that are traveling or working or sick. So it's just us again. And we are here as sort of an emergency podcast just to kind of catch up on some of the transfer news that has been going on in and around the club and then in and around the Premier League. We were talking on our Patreon this morning and we were just finishing our show, the very, very last second, and we were closing the show out, and Chris Brack was kind enough to wait until after we were off air to let us know about the Guehi news. So for those of you who've been living under a rock, there was an official bid that was submitted by Liverpool for Marc Guehi. It was first reported by Ornstein, and then it was followed up by Joyce a little bit later, who actually said that it was a second bid that had gone in. Kev, what was your response to hearing that? We were pretty much just talking about needing to see movement. So how are you feeling about that?
Delighted that we actually seen movement, first and foremost. Pissed off that Chris decided to wait until we just literally pressed end stream and we both looked at our phone at the same time and went, shit. So that was a new one. But yeah, look, if you go off what Ornstein was saying, that the 35 million bid went in after the early August, after the Charter Shield. So basically, this deal has been on the cards for a while, and you can always stem back to Glasner's pre-match interview over the weekend, at the beginning of the weekend. And it's almost like I've got a horrible feeling for Crystal Palace that that's a line in the sand. This is a line in the sand sale for him. And I think Liverpool have done their level best to accommodate Crystal Palace and the situation that they've been in relation to Europe. I think Palace would probably have expected to get through their third, the qualifying round in the first leg pretty handily, but they didn't. They drew that one at home and ended up going through 1-0 away. So Liverpool have kept really quiet on it. They haven't gone back to it. It hasn't really been pushed by any of the Liverpool talking heads. So it was a case, okay, we'll leave the bid there. Palace need to do their business and then get through, make sure they get into Europe. And then we saw what happened today, where it was announced. It wasn't really a bid went in. The bid was announced that it was received today. So the bid has been in there for a while. It was the clubs probably told Ornstein, yeah, you can report it now. Mm-hmm. And he reported it. And then a few minutes later, Paul Joyce come out with Ornstein first reported that it was a 35 million flat fee, no add-ons, no extras, no nothing. Then Paul Joyce comes out and says it was a 35 million plus a 10% sell-on. Crystal Palace were looking for a 35 million plus 5 million in add-ons for the England defender. Liverpool's first proposal, 35 million fee, was received after the Community Shield on August 10th, which basically tells you how far we're behind with everything and how much the actual, the real journalists really do know, and how much they're holding back and releasing stuff when they get the okay, because that's how this works. They get the heads up from the clubs pretty early on, and it's the only way they probably do get real information that the clubs can action on. So as it stands at the minute, I haven't seen anything. I'm just looking on here now. I haven't seen anything that says Crystal Palace have accepted. It looks like it's a deal that's really on the verge of being done, and you expect tomorrow at some point for that to go through, and Marc Guehi's given permission to travel for a medical, which, look, depending on who you read, you're seeing a lot of links with potentially Joe Gomez, either loan or sale, maybe going the other way. See what happens with that. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I expect early tomorrow Marc Guehi to get permission to travel to Liverpool for his medical. And fingers crossed that one gets over the line.
Yeah, I think it needs to. It was Joyce that actually brought up the Joe Gomez kind of tidbit. He talked about how Palace have been looking specifically for 2 center backs to allow Mark Guehi to go. And I don't think we've ever seen a summer where moves have been so contingent on other teams getting players in. But Joyce mentioned a young center back. His name is Canvo. I am butchering that. He's 19 years old. He's from Toulouse. Apparently Glasner is interested in him, but he wants more experienced recruits. So one of the things that was proposed was a loan deal for Gomez. But Joyce has said that Liverpool has ruled that out as a non-starter, citing the versatility of the defender, who has played across the back line in recent seasons. But he goes on to talk about how there is a chance that Liverpool would consider allowing Gomez to leave permanently, which is a tidbit that wasn't in sort of the main tweets. He specifically says that Liverpool would still have reservations to allow that to happen, but there is considerations there. And he mentions AC Milan as someone that has shown interest in Joe Gomez. So we were talking off air. You mentioned, that would be putting an enormous amount of pressure on Leone. I tend to agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of the backstory on Joe Gomez. I don't know how I'd feel about him leaving. I think we touched on this at the Patreon show earlier. I feel like the problem with Joe Gomez is not his ability, it's his availability.
Yeah.
And if it was kind of a make or break situation, I think I'd rather have a fully fit Guehi than a half fit Gomez.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure that that's the way that this deal is working. I don't think that it's one contingent on the other. I think it was just something that they may have been exploring.
Yeah, you wouldn't blame Crystal Palace for asking. At the end of the day, he is experienced.
Yeah.
He is a good defender. If they can get him, the thing is with Joe Gomez, you'd have to wonder how much of his availability is down to lack of match fitness and match playing time. If it's a case that he got a move to a Crystal Palace, for example, and was playing week in, week out, would that in itself get his body into a state of fitness that he'll be able to finish off his career, basically? Because he's been at the club now for 11 years, something in that region. So he just hasn't played enough for someone of his ability. He's almost kind of like in the Daniel Sturridge mold of footballer now, where he definitely has the ability, but he just can't stay fit for long enough. And you'd have to argue that a fully fit Joe Gomez is definitely an asset to any club, ours included. So, but the other talk with Joe was the fact that AC Milan were lurking. And you see with all of the players from the Premier League, the likes of Scott McTominay and that ilk, who go to Italy. Chris Smalling is the one who sticks out like a sore thumb. They go to Italy and they excel. They really do kick on. Would a change of scenery to a club like AC Milan benefit a Joe Gomez? I think massively it would. So just see where that goes. Last few days of the window, anything could happen. But I think if we get Mark Guehi over the line, that's a homegrown player. Not club grown, but a homegrown player. So it would be possible to let a Joe Gomez go if an offer came in and he got a permanent deal.
The other thing to think about with Joe is his contract expires in 2027, summer of 2027. So I don't know how much money you would get for him, but this feels sort of like the last summer that you would get anything for him.
Yeah.
Anything of any substantial value. And I think that the ship has probably sailed on cashing out on Joe Gomez. So whatever it was that we would be getting for him, it would be kind of a smaller fee. Which is it's just a shame. Like, it's a shame when you think about his ability, what he has won. His age is still very good. All of the things. It's just that fitness thing. But that's just another thing to consider, that there is that contract thing. Speaking of contracts, before we get into some of the other players that are going around in transfers, another piece of breaking news that came out this morning while we were on Patreon was that Cody Gakpo has signed a new contract. I believe it's an extension for 2.5 years. Someone can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. That's just what I saw briefly on Twitter. he seems thrilled. And Kev and I were talking earlier about how we've had issues in the past with contract situations being neglected over a course of time. So it's nice that the club is kind of getting back on top of those things. Kev, what was your response to Cody Gakpo signing a new deal?
Massively out of the blue, wasn't it? Nobody was expecting it. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody was talking about it. I suppose it's the one thing, I suppose, with all of the talk of transfers that were happening this summer, nobody mentioned once the potential for contract renewals. And this one, yeah, it came out delighted with it. You know, it locks down a top player. He's a top player. And it locks him down in that position for the next, 4 or 5 years. And it looks like we're going to get the prime years of Cody Gakpo on the left wing. And massive asset to the club. When you look at the fee that we've paid for him, and you look at his return, and you look at the potential returns that we're going to have for him over the length of his new contract, it was an absolute steal. When you see what some players, the likes of Elanga and that kind of ilk of winger, are going for in today's market at 50-odd million, it's a steal. You know, it's a no-brainer that you tie him down. Manager trusts him, manager likes him, and he's hopefully only going to improve over the next few years. Delighted for the fact that we tied that one down.
Yeah, his original contract was due to expire in 2028, so it was actually kind of a little ways down the road. So to tie him down, I think what we're doing is avoiding another Luis Diaz situation. I think it is the manager trusting him, probably rewarding him with an increase in pay rise as well, which he deserves. And so I think overall, just that it's what you want. There's a few players, maybe like a McAllister, especially, and Ibu Konate, which will, is still kind of in that limbo zone, that I would love to see sign some renewals. But, you can't just sit and wait on Ibu. You have to have other deals going on in the background at the same time. And to get Cody done, it's just another one they can check off the list. Yeah. So I'm very happy about that. And it definitely it came out of the blue completely. So, they can still keep secrets, which is fantastic.
Well, another one that's breaking tonight, actually.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Well, this came out. Romano posted a tweet there about 7 minutes ago.
Okay.
Villa are closing in on a deal for Luis Paqueta from West Ham's £47 million package, including a loan with an obligation to buy and add-ons. Paqueta has accepted the move and is keen on the project. Here we go is expected very soon. So that goes back to the chat that we were having around Morgan Rogers. And does a move for Paqueta put Villa back in the crosshairs, the PSR crosshairs of UEFA? Quite possibly.
Yeah, so The Athletic was reporting that they are working very hard to try to comply with the UEFA rules, but we've talked about this before. Their wages are out of control at that club. Something about 96% of their incoming kind of monetary value of the club is going directly to wages. So they were looking at a loan, I believe, for Asensio. I don't know if this is also maybe a loan with an obligation to buy, because I believe that West Ham value him around £60 million.
Well, according to Romano, it's a £47 million package, including the loan fee and an obligation. So,
okay, all right. So they are giving them a little bit of leeway, I guess, which theoretically, I'm sure Villa is probably hoping that they get back into Europe and can kind of use that money. I don't know. I don't know about this one. I don't know how much wiggle room Aston Villa truly has. And if you look at a Morgan Rogers sale, we mentioned this yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I'm losing track of the days. Morgan Rogers was signed for about £8 million, rising to 16. I think they could easily sell him for 70, 80 even. That would be an amazing turnaround in 1 year. And they could then use that money to reinvest in their squad. And Emery has come out and said he wants 2 to 3 more players in that Villa squad. And I think they look like they need it. So where are they going to get that money? I don't know. So it looks to me like they're going to have to sell someone. I mean, they obviously sold Ramsey. I think if they sold both of them, their fans might be a little bit upset. But needs must there. So there might be a kernel of truth to the indie rumors of Morgan Rogers. I'm not excited quite yet, but that does have a ripple effect on Elliott.
Potentially, yeah.
And
that was literally...
we saw like Xavi Simons going to Spurs, which maybe opens up the door for Elliott. So how are you feeling on that now that we've heard this news with Paqueta?
I think the club will always entertain an offer for Harvey if the offer is good enough and if the player wants to move. But I think it'll have to be player-led. I don't think the club are likely to turn around and say to Harvey, look, you have to go. We're going to accept this offer. I think they'll leave the ball in his court, because I still maintain he's a player you'd rather have than not have. Because if we sell him in this window, I think he has to be replaced in the squad because of what he offered, the amount of positions he's capable of playing. I think you have to have that level, that quality, and that flexibility to be able to use him off the bench and in the cup competitions throughout the season. You can't keep playing the same 4 or 5 midfielders all the time. You have to be able to properly rotate. And look, the manager knows what he's going to get for him. So I think if it's a substantial offer for him, and I mean substantial is in the 45, 50 million mark, then I think the club probably would entertain it, but it would take that level. And then you'd have to go and find his replacement. Is Morgan Rogers a potential replacement? Absolutely he is. But at the same time, I think it's one to watch for sure.
Yeah. I think Chris makes a decent point. I mean, I should just be blacklisting him from the show tonight after his
disgraceful behavior.
I know. But he makes a good point here where, Elliott is a little bit like the Diaz situation where they've been told if a club bids a certain amount, then they can leave. And I think that that's true. I think that Liverpool have their valuation and they have no need to sell him cheap. So they're not going to do a deal with anybody. It looks like if it's outside of England, they really want that sell-on clause. So it'd be like 40 plus whatever sell-on clause they were looking for. I think probably about 10%. If it's in the Premier League, it seems like the fee is a little bit higher, closer to 50. And I know that they've cited other young English players specifically that have moved for pretty hefty fees.
Yeah.
So in terms of comps, Harvey Elliott has a pretty good resume. I know that he has like a little bit of an injury history, but I think it's less about the injuries and more about him just not being part of the manager's plans that's making him not played. So I don't think you can downgrade his fee too much based on that. I think if they see a significant bid, they'll do it. But at this point in the window, I mean, it would have to be like immediate. And I also think that you got to get Isak sorted, because at some point, if you don't have Isak, then Elliott is one of your forward options because we just don't have that many.
No.
So let's see. Anything new now that we're...
No, nothing. No,
all right.
Nothing's dropped so far.
Okay, so let's touch on Isak. We've got Indy coming out with an exclusive as of 11 seconds ago, saying our sources state that Alexander Isak is staying at a specific hotel. I can't pronounce it. That's located 13 miles north of Liverpool. So according to Indy, who sounds a little bit like a stalker right now, Isak is right outside of the Liverpool door. So I don't know if I buy Indy's kind of new role as actual ITK, but just for fun, that's out there.
I think all of the talking heads outside of England are making the noise now. That 130 figure is doing the rounds in a big way. And I think that's the halfway point between what Newcastle want, what Liverpool offered. And I think if there is a sweet spot, I think that's probably it. And I'd imagine it's 130 all in, including add-ons and extras and the fact that here's a bonus if you win 2 Ballon d'Ors in a row kind of thing. It will be filled. The add-ons will be filled with some achievable ones, but a lot of bullshit. I think the fee probably is 120, and then 10 in whatever add-ons they want to add on to. So Newcastle get to save a bit of face. We get to pay a penalty for a low ball offer, and a deal gets done. Fingers crossed. But here we are at 10 on a Saturday night with less than 48 hours to go in this transfer window, and a bid hasn't been accepted, let alone another bid for Newcastle to get another striker in. Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So getting to that point now.
I mean, it's interesting that Joyce in his article actually mentioned the fees for Isak. He didn't need to do that. He was talking about Mark Guehi, but at the bottom of the article, he states, Liverpool, meanwhile, retain an interest in Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak, but will not go as high as £130 million for the Sweden international. A bid of $110 million was rejected on August 1st, as we all know. But as Isak only wants the move to Anfield, Liverpool will not bid against themselves in the belief that a figure around $120 million is a fair price for the player. So, 130 if you include add-ons, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't expect that base figure to be 130.
No, I don't.
I expect that base figure to be much lower than we're expecting. So, I mean, you need it to be a strong enough bid that Newcastle aren't like, oh, we're offended, because obviously that happened last time. But at the same time, he makes the point. No one else is bidding. No one else is involved.
Yeah.
Alexander Isak is on strike. He's made it abundantly clear that he's not going to come and play for them again. He's not going to increase in value sitting on his bench.
No.
He's absolutely going to play for the World Cup because, it's Sweden and they're going to play him no matter what. So this is kind of their one chance. Like, for them to get a British record fee is a fantastic thing. I mean, they will absolutely be able to reinvest that money. They'll be able to use some of it to pay off of Voltemata. And, at this point, I feel like they have to accept it. I don't think they need to go up to 150. I think they're delusional if they think they're going to get 150.
Yeah, I agree. It's getting to that state. I mean, I don't know what their game is. It's kind of obvious they've got their eyes set on two strikers. Get a bid done for one of them. Get a deal done for one of them, and make your excuses in the press. But everyone knows this deal has to happen. Newcastle has to get this one done.
What is it? Craig Hope. He's the one that's sort of been on top of this recently. He came out. His quote was, "The idea that Liverpool will not return with a second offer is like going to Vegas and refusing to gamble. They have not come this far to abandon him now, especially not when the odds are so heavily in their favor of getting a deal done." He continues, "If you think Arne Slot has some intricate strategies on the pitch, that is nothing compared to the moves made by Liverpool's transfer committee off of it. This is a summer-long strategy we are seeing unfold. Isak has fulfilled his end of the bargain, sat behind the picket line, and now it's over to Liverpool." So that's the journalist that's kind of been, I want to say, the most level-headed coming out of Newcastle saying that. And it's definitely a change in tune.
Well, one thing's for certain, Liverpool aren't going to go out and publicly make a bid for it to get rejected again. That's one thing's for certain. Liverpool are not going to publicly make a second offer for Alexander Isak or anybody without being told, yeah, this is the bid that we will publicly go and accept. They have to, and that's why they keep turning around, and you keep hearing that tagline, if the club are encouraged to bid, and that's the only way that Liverpool go back in with a second bid for him. Otherwise, they look stupid. They look desperate, and that's when you can be had over a barrel. So it's not a case of Alexander Isak at any cost. It's Alexander Isak at the cost that Liverpool are comfortable paying. And there's no doubt in my mind the club want him. It's just a case of Newcastle getting their house in order to save face so that they can get out and get this out of the way as well, because you can guarantee the likes of your Shea Given, your Alan Shearer, and all of the other Newcastle talking heads are out there saying, stand firm, Newcastle, do this, do that. It's almost as if they're brand new to football. This kind of stuff deals happen all the time, but you still have to, the pieces still have to fall in the right way. And at the moment, you're sat here looking at it and you're refreshing your screen saying, at some point, someone's going to have to do something. There's not a peep out of Newcastle with a second striker. They had your man Voltamata today in the director's box at Leeds. That one got done and over the line, 69 million. And you'd have to say Strand Larsen, in and around the same fee, offers them two strikers for the same money as they're going to get for Alexander Isak. Where's the loss here? Where's the loss for anyone in this? I can't understand what the delay is now.
I mean, there's definitely, I can acknowledge the fact that losing their best player is, a downgrade. But I think if you look at Voltamata and, if it is going to be Larsen, those are both very young players with very high ceilings. They were definitely looking like they were going in a direction where, they might have to have some sort of tail end of their career strikers. And that I think would have been very bad for their long-term strategy. But some of these young strikers, what Newcastle need to do, and we've said this over the course of the summer, is they need to eventually start to flip a couple of these players. And that includes Isak. But Voltamata is another one that they could potentially flip. Strand Larsen is another one that they could potentially flip. And if they can start getting a little bit more of a steady stream of income, that's going to benefit them sort of as they grow. What's the word? Like organically, I guess. Because that's what they need to be striding for. And that's something that most teams who haven't been backed by city-states have had to do. And we had to do that over time as well. We had to sell a lot of our players that we didn't want to see leave. So I think that both of those strikers would be great options in the future. And they don't have to sell both of them, but maybe one of them. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, time will tell at this point. I think we're all just playing this waiting game. And the good news is that it's over on Monday and we don't have to do this again for another couple of months.
We can talk about football and what's actually happening in the
and there's plenty to talk about. There really is.
I'm just looking through here now, looking at some of the others. I mean, Piero Hincapié said his goodbyes tonight to Bayer Leverkusen fans. His deal will go through at Arsenal in the next 24 hours. Bayern director Max Eberl says Nico Jackson's deal is currently on hold.
Let's talk about that.
Let's
talk about that.
Everyone will now revisit their network and contact to a certain extent. See what's possible. Look, at the end of the day, you saw Liam Delap pull up with a hamstring injury today.
Yes.
And he's going to be out for a few months with that, at least.
I mean, we don't know how severe it is.
No, but you can ballpark 6 to 8 weeks. It's going to be 6 to 8 weeks. That takes you into halfway through October, and then you're looking at the potential couple of weeks to get back into match sharpness, and you're into November. Jackson is still Chelsea's player until he signs a deal to say he's not Chelsea's player. And Chelsea are well within their rights to put a stop on it and say, look, unless we have another alternative that we can go and do, you're our player. We're not letting you go anywhere. You were our third choice. We were prepared to let you go. Apparently the fee was a €15 million loan fee for the year. So it was a chunk of change for Chelsea, a massive chunk of change for Chelsea to get in. But at the same time, you have to turn around and say, look, the club's need is we have to have two strikers going into the season. You are our player. And like it or lump it, you're coming back. And he can talk to as many lawyers as he wants. He's still under contract. And I see, everyone has seen the comments coming out from his agent is not very happy. The player is not very happy. And who blame him? You're going to play for Bayern Munich as a backup to Harry Kane, a 32-year-old striker who can't play every week all the time. You're going to get minutes playing for Bayern. You'll go and win things there. And suddenly to have the rug pulled from under you because another player got injured, it's unfortunate. But yeah, it's a mad one.
I mean, it's crazy because I actually just had to pull up the list of the Chelsea squad, which it goes on for pages, to kind of look at who they have available, because we talk about, it looks like Nkuku's done. He's going off the books, but I mean, they've got João Pedro. He seems to be making a pretty significant impact. I actually think he's a really smart signing.
Yeah.
He could quite easily be their starter for the duration of this injury. And I understand that they can't, keep themselves short, but they've got something like 15 other forwards that they could play in emergency. I mean, they've got Neto, they've got Gittins, they've got Tyreek George, they've got Estevao. There's literally so many that I cannot name them off the top of my head. And not all of them are going to get game time. The idea that none of them can shift as like a temporary 9 solution for the course of maybe 2 months, I don't know. I don't know if that's enough to pull the plug on Jackson, because honestly, the minute that Jackson is surplus to requirements, he's going back out on, whatever it is, like whatever it is that they do with Chelsea players that they don't want to see anymore, he's going to get sent off onto that. Like the good ship lollipop is going to set sail and he's going to never be seen again. And, you'd imagine that Jackson has ambitions of his own. And we don't know if there's going to be an offer in January for him. And I understand. I understand that he is, a Chelsea player and that, they have the ability to do whatever is in their best interest. Yeah. But for me, I think that feels like a shady move for Jackson.
Yeah.
And, the other thing that's really interesting about this, which I haven't really heard talked about that much, is this is yet another injury for Chelsea post Club World Cup.
Exactly. I was going to come back to that now.
So we've got Palmer with a groin. We've got Colwell with an ACL. We've got Delap with a hamstring. And they've only played 3 games. And I don't think this is the end of the injuries. They also signed Garnacho. That's another one, Jono. Thank you for throwing that up. I don't know. I worry about the impact of that Club World Cup over time. I think that there's just going to be this ripple effect all across those teams. And,
but it's definitely the one where every senior player who wasn't involved and coach and manager said, look,
thinking they're lucky stars.
This is where they're going to turn around and say, look, we told you so. You were told this was going to happen and you didn't listen, and no amount of prize money that you've got for it is going to cover the losses when the window is closed. And Jono's making the point here. The Jackson situation is exactly why Isak shouldn't get banished for his behavior. Clubs do what they want. Spot on. Clubs are notorious. Manchester United, classic example, naming the 4 or 5 players that they wanted to bin off. When the club wants to, contracts mean absolutely nothing. They will force you out. At the same time, Alexander Isak has turned around and all he said is, I want to go to Liverpool. And why wouldn't you? Champions come in and they've paid a British record fee, or close to a British record fee for you. After everything that's been said, everyone knows the backstory by now. So he's been isolated, told to train on his own, and the resulting fact is you got Newcastle fans singing songs about him today. It's disgraceful, but at the end of the day, a large reason why they are where we are and why they've won their first cup in donkey's years is because of Alexander Isak. And it just goes to show how fickle and quick fans are with facts and their memories when it suits them. And yeah, they are buying Buonanotte as well. They've done that. Apparently that deal's happening as well. It's absolute insanity
They're also bidding for Fermin Lopez, which
are they going
I
to
don't think
go in
that's
for him
going
now?
anywhere. Well, they bid for him, but Barcelona have maintained their position that they have no plans to sell him.
Yeah. I think the bid was 70 million, and Barca were talking somewhere around the 70 million euro. Barca are looking for in and around the 85 million euro.
Oh, I don't think it was that high. I think it was only about 40 million that they sent in. It was very low. It was a low ball offer.
Yeah, that is a low ball offer at the end of the day. That's a chance your arm, just to test the waters and see where the state of Barcelona's finances are. You know, it's a mad one. The other one that's going doing the rounds at the minute is Fenerbahce working on a deal to sign Ederson from Man City. Fenerbahce entered the race, tried to get a deal done after Galatasaray had a 10 million euro bid rejected. If Ederson leaves, Donnarumma will join Man City. But at the same time, Donnarumma is in that same boat now. He's been replaced at PSG. He's going to go somewhere. It's just going to be a case of where does he go? And if it is a Man City have to make room in their squad to get him in. They cannot have a case where they have Donnarumma, Ederson, James Trafford at their club as three senior keepers. It's even by Man City standards, that's lunacy, and I don't think Pep Guardiola would do that. You know, I think Pep would. I think that Pep wouldn't do that. He couldn't entertain that. You know, he already comes out and talking about disappointing players who have to sit in the stand. A lot of managers at top clubs have to do that. But the idea that they would have three senior keepers at the club like that, no chance. Not for me. So Ederson potentially going more than likely to Turkey. Or the flip side is Donnarumma could end up in Turkey.
Yeah, he was linked to Galatasaray yesterday. So it does very much feel like either one of Ederson or Donnarumma will end up there. It just depends on which one of the two, and whoever doesn't end up in Turkey ends up in Manchester. Yeah. So there's definitely, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Is there anything else that has sort of popped up for you in the last little while?
No. Nothing's come up there now. I mean, look, the other ones, I'm trying to think Liverpool-wise now. I mean, Costas to Roma is...
That's been confirmed. That's done.
Yeah. I'm trying to wonder now. I'm looking now after the Arsenal game. I think we could see a fair few loan deals happen with some of the Fringe squad.
The young kids.
First team squad, but yeah, some of the 21s, you could see some loan deals happening.
Yeah, I think Jayden Danns is one that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You know, especially if we end up getting an Isak. I don't know if we necessarily need him around in terms of I'd rather have him go out and actually get some game time. I think he needs it. We saw McConnell go. It looks like Paqueta is being asked to stick around. I think I said this on a show the other day that the club wants to see if he can recreate some of the kind of skills and abilities that he showed out on loan. He was very impressive out on loan. So I think they want to have him there sort of as an emergency 6 option and maybe play him in some of the cups, especially with McConnell going out. It looks like he's going to be the one that's covering there. Yeah. So he looks like he's going to stick around. I don't know when we're going to see him in full fitness.
I think I read somewhere in and around the end of September, maybe October.
So I'd love to see him for that Southampton game if possible. I don't know if that's going to be too soon.
Possibly too soon. But at the same time, it's going to be one of those that he'll be around kind of thing. There's plenty of rounds in the cup. He'll be around for a lot of the hopefully back last 2 games of the Champions League window type thing. So see where that goes.
Ramsey, Scanlon. Kane Doherty is another one that Super Dizzle puts in there.
Yeah.
There's definitely some of those, they're the ones that are right around like 19 to 21 that really need that game time. That still aren't necessarily done for the club.
Yeah. I was going to ask, has Lewis Kumas got his move yet? Because he was linked with Wrexham, then he was linked with Birmingham.
I haven't seen anything on him recently. Has anyone in the chat seen anything on Kumas?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on him recently. So that's one definitely to keep an eye on.
I mean, he played. I know he played in one of the youth games recently. Let me see. Hold on. Birmingham City.
Birmingham.
It looks like, it says he got his first 90 in blue at Birmingham City on August 27th.
Okay.
So,
good.
Yeah, he's on a season-long loan there.
Good.
Cool.
Right,
Well,
and just have a quick look and see what's being linked up with. Yeah, Manuel Akanji. Spurs are in the race for him, apparently, as well.
Okay.
West Ham into the race for Fabio Vieira. Chelsea poised to move for Fermin Lopez. I think if Chelsea are interested in Fermin Lopez, the injury to Delap probably kicked that on. But it does seem a bit weird that they would go out and invest serious money on another striker on the strength of someone having an injury when you've got Nicholas Jackson already on the books, and at best you're going to get 15 million back for it. So unless the relationship has broken down completely,
I mean, Jackson seems like he's decided he's not returning, that he's going to stay in Germany. So yeah. I don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, that looks like one for the soap operas to kind of record. I would love like a behind the scenes of that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was going to say, go back to the Manuel Akanji one at the minute, 30 years of age, strongly linked to AC Milan for a while, and Crystal Palace are looking at him. Where does that leave Man City with their centre-back options? Bear in mind that he's flexible. He can play left, right, and he's experienced. He's a solid defender. You know, I mean.
So who they've got Diaz, Ake, Stones, Gvardiol.
Yeah.
They've got Vitor Reis.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
What happened to Kushyanov? Is he got sent out, didn't he? He went to.
Well, one of those two got sent out.
I think he got sent back to like the sister team. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Well, apparently, according to Mundo Deportivo, Chelsea are ready to make an offer for Lopez, who Barcelona value at 90 million euros, 78 million pounds. So, you know, if Chelsea go back in with an offer in and around the 80 million euro
mark. Where do they find this money?
I don't know. I don't know how they're doing it.
I want someone to do like an investigative deep dive series on the way that Chelsea function.
Well, if you look at the West Ham links to Fabio Vieira from Arsenal, that kind of makes sense with Paqueta deal going to West Ham. Going to Aston Villa. So that kind of tallies. You know, you can make sense of that. Apparently, Nossar Mazwari from Manchester United has emerged as a target for Juventus. RB Leipzig targeting England and Liverpool midfielder Harvey Elliott as a replacement for Javi Simmons. That's coming from ESPN. And Liverpool could make a move for England midfielder Morgan Rogers should a transfer for Elliott materialise. But that's a loose link. That's coming from Football Insider. So take that with a shovel.
That's coming from Indy through Football Insider.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the one that's posting there.
Take that with a shovel of salt. Brazilian winger Rodrigo will remain at Real Madrid this summer, according to Marca. And yeah, that's pretty much where everything. Liverpool are looking at a potential 21 million move for Osasuna and Cameroon centre back Boyomo, as Unai Emery.
I haven't heard that before.
That's coming from the Telegraph. And apparently, 2 Premier League clubs are keen on making a move for Seville and Belgium forward Luka Bakayoko, with the Spanish side bracing themselves for offers from 2 Premier League clubs. So take that. And in fairness, that wouldn't be a surprise to see him on the move this summer either.
Okay. Just for the sake of clarity, Oshin has told me that I got those players reversed. So Reese is the one that's out on loan at Girona.
Yeah.
And then Kushyanov is the one that's still at City. So just for the sake of clarity there. Yeah, I think that's about it. There's a couple interesting quotes here about Glasner. Do you think that Glasner would walk over the Guehi deal? Do you think that he would resign?
I don't think he'd resign, but I think if a top job comes up, that he would be willing to receive the phone call.
Are you talking about a top job like Man United, which is not?
Yeah, it's still Manchester United. Okay. I don't care what anyone says. It's Manchester United. If they sack your man like
Amram.
this, like Amram, like they should have done, then there's no doubt in my mind that they will go in for him. And it has to be a line in the sand moment. You're losing two of your best players from out from under your feet at the very tail end of the transfer window after you've been through a pre-season and you've done your level best to get them ready and get everything sorted, and then all of a sudden your captain and your best centre back is sold for 35 million pounds, and he's dead right in what he's saying. You're not going to get a player of that caliber to come to Crystal Palace for the kind of money that Crystal Palace are able to spend. Not a case of what's out there. It's a case of what Crystal Palace are able to go and invest in a centre-back. They won't be able to go out and find a replacement for Isak Guehi. That, in turn, next season definitely hampers them in the league. And it's bad enough them losing Eze, but it's probably easier to go out and find a replacement forward for him than it is to go and find a proper centre-back. There's plenty of centre-backs out there, but Isak Guehi is a proper player. So it's really a kick in the teeth for the manager. And I think Steve Parish is going to have to do a hell of a lot of sweet talking. But I think Glasner has to turn around and, accept the fact that look at where Crystal Palace are and look at the financial side of this. Crystal Palace cannot afford to have Isak Guehi leave on a free when they have 35 million plus whatever on a plate for him. And for the viability of Crystal Palace going forward for long term, they have to be able to turn over these players for good money. So they know they've got Wharton that'll probably be going up for sale next summer after the World Cup. So, it's just the joys, unfortunately, for clubs like Crystal Palace is they don't get to keep their best players all of the time.
Yeah.
They kept Wilfred Zaha, but they didn't. They sold him and brought him back. But
they can. At the same time, I feel like it can hold their players back. You look at what Elise is doing. Like, he's outstanding. Being able to kind of spread his wings. And I think Eze is going to be similar, which makes me really upset that he's at Arsenal. And I think that players like Guehi and Wharton deserve to be able to take that step up. And that I mean no disrespect whatsoever to Palace.
No, same.
I really, really don't. I think they're a fantastic club. And I respect them. I respect them for what they're able to do, and I think they're doing it correctly. But at the same time, I do think that some of those players, they want to take the next step and compete at the highest level for Champions Leagues every single year, or for winning the league. They want to be able to do that, and I think they deserve to do that. So before we go, there's a lot of us watching. First of all, if you could like the stream, that really helps us out, just kind of keeping the channel going. One thing I wanted to remind everyone of is that we are sponsored by NordVPN. They are a fantastic security service that allows you to kind of cloak your location while using the internet. It also allows you to watch certain shows or, sporting events maybe that you're not able to watch in your region by setting a different area. And that just kind of secures your computer, your phone, your tablet. It can also secure the tablets and phones and other kind of things that belong to your family and friends. I think you can do about 10 of them at a time. And we really appreciate them for sponsoring us. We don't do a lot of sponsorships, but it does just kind of allow us to keep taking over. So there's a link down there. If you've already got one, that's cool. If not, just check them out. As for us with shows coming up, we've got Patreon kind of content going throughout the week, throughout the weekend. We've got on our Patreon tomorrow our reaction extra to the show for Arsenal. We also have our Ref Watch, which is kind of highly anticipated this particular weekend because there's just so much shit that the PGML have PGMOL have already done. So those are both our Patreon shows coming up. And then on our YouTube, we have the free shows as usual. So tomorrow we're going to have our match reaction right after the game, and then our typical Sunday night show with the guys. So both of those things are coming up as well. So there's plenty on the docket. And obviously, if transfers come up, we will come back and try to give you the updates as they come. Before we leave, Kev, is there any kind of final thoughts or final updates or anything that's going on?
We're just going to be trying to be extra careful now about...
I know. It seems like Fabrizio is live as well. So if anyone's kind of watching him at the same time and he like throws in anything like massive, can you just throw it in there before we exit and close out, because we've already done this once today.
Yeah, the only thing that he's adding is on the Paqueta stuff that Potter has requested not to sell the Brazilian while Villa are pushing for the deal.
Well, that's because West Ham, as someone in the chat put, is standing on a trapdoor down into the championship.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think West Ham are looking at this and say, and you can understand the West Ham fans' point of view. We stood by you through all of your scandals, through all of your bullshit. They stood by him. And at the first opportunity, it's exit stage left. From the player's point of view, you absolutely 100% can understand where he's coming from. It's a chance to get back into Europe. Villa are a massive club, and he'll do well there. There's no doubt in my mind he would do well there. But how Villa play this out with you look at they're trying to get a deal done for Asensio as well. Definitely keep an eye on the Morgan Rogers stuff. Keep an eye on the Morgan Rogers talk, because that could be, there's always one signing in the window that comes out of absolutely nowhere, and you're like, oh, nobody saw this coming. That could be the one. Another one, Cor mentioned there, Jarrod Bowen. I don't know if Jarrod Bowen would be on the list for the chopping block, or for looking to bear in mind he's the club captain, and the fact that he's nearly, I think he's
his age. It's his age is
29.
like the one. Yeah, I think he's about 29.
For us, maybe. But
no,
if you're,
I don't think so.
I
don't think that's part of the model.
No, I'm not talking about for us. I'm talking if you're a top 6 club, and suddenly Jarrod Bowen makes it known that he wants to leave, there would be a lot of clubs out there that would definitely take a punt on him. I wouldn't mind having him in the squad, but it's he'd be a money for all rope type of player. You'd be buying him, and you'd have him at the club for the rest of his career. He'd be kind of like the Gary McAllister. He comes in at a certain age and he's there for the next 5-6 years. You wouldn't be on massive money. You wouldn't want to be paying big money for him either. But I don't think he's a deal for us. But I definitely think if someone like him becomes available, he's a deal for somebody.
Yeah, I think that we looked at him back. I think he was about 26 or 27, and we looked at him seriously, and they outpriced him. They outpriced him from a move back then, and I don't know what they would be looking for now. But at this point, in the window, they can't lose. They can't lose. No. He's the only person putting points on the board for them at this point in time.
I was going to say we may as well hang on until after 11, because it's if anything's going to. I don't know, but in fairness, usually they drop stuff on the hour. And I
did see. Let's see. I saw Fjortoff come out again. Grain of salt. He's saying that the gank striker Tolu. I'm not even going to. Nope, the gank striker is what we're going with. I cannot pronounce his last name. Is now set to join Wolves, seen as the replacement for Strand Larsen.
Yeah.
Strand Larsen has made it clear that he wants to play for Newcastle United. I believe it was the Wolves coach that came out post-match today and said, oh, no. Strand Larsen has an Achilles injury, or he has a sore ankle or something of the sort. And that's why he wasn't in the team today. So there's a little bit of dancing going on with Strand Larsen and Wolves. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, because that could be the number 2 striker that, we're waiting on for those dominoes and, that list of things that needed to be done in order to allow Isak to move. I think that's another one that could quite possibly happen.
Patrick makes a point there. Tomorrow is the big one.
We've kind of not even touched on the. I mean, we had our pre-match on Friday, so we kind of went into great detail, you and I, about the game. Have you had any changes in feelings, kind of approaching the game? Are you nervous?
No. No, I get nervous when I see the lineups, and you see the lineups, and it'll be every permutation in the world goes through your head about how badly it could go and how Arsenal could dominate, and it just always does it with me. Every time we get big games like this, I look at their players that can hurt us, and I look at our weaknesses, and then the game starts, and I realize, we're pretty good at this football, Lark, and I just hope tomorrow. I just hope tomorrow Anfield is on wheels, and it's I hope Sunday 4:30. It's the big game. It is the biggest game of the season so far. It's going to be absolutely massive game, but I think it's going to be a close game. I still think a score draw is the most likely. Yo Cool makes the point. Predicted lineup for tomorrow. Right. Well, we did the
You
the
should
preview.
check out our preview on Friday. We will indulge you. I think it's Allison in goal. I think Ibu and Virgil start at center back. I think that Bradley might get the start depending on how he's done with his fitness this week. If it's not Bradley, I think it's Szoboszlai, but I'm going to go with Bradley. On the left, I am curious, given the announcement of Andy Robertson as the new vice captain, if that has any role whatsoever on who plays left back. I think it's probably still Kirkes, but it's just something to consider there. Midfield, I think it's probably Gravenberch. It's probably Wirtz. And I think that third role depends on how McAllister is trained. He was in training this week, but we don't have any sort of clarity about, is he ready to start? Is he ready for, significant minutes? And that's going to be either a McAllister or a Szoboszlai for me. And then the front line, I think, picks itself. I think it's Gakpo, I think it's Ekitike, and I think it's Mo Salah. Do you have anything significantly different from that?
Well, no, but I'm just going to add what our part-time co-host and friend of the channel
and tractor driver,
the tractor driver says, a draw? Boo. Fuck off, Kev. A draw is fan media, not the BBC. 5-0 for Matt.
I mean, Matt is the king of optimism here on the Talkin Kop, which is why we miss him.
Yeah, we do miss him big time.
And we do need to have him come back soon. Let's see. I've got a couple people saying that Fabrizio is basically saying, the deal is still on for Isak, which is not really new news. It's just kind of carrying things on.
If you get Palace coming out saying, 35 million plus 5 million add-ons, and then you've got Liverpool coming out and saying 35 million and 10%, it's, lads, will you just go into the corner?
Just shaking the mail or something.
Just go into the corner, kiss in the back corner, and just make up and just come out and dust yourself off and go your separate ways. That's the end of that.
I think the nice thing is that we do have a very good relationship with Palace.
Yes.
So this isn't going to be something that's, they're not going to disagree over £1 million just out of spite. I think that they will come to a conclusion here, and Glasner may not be happy with that, but I think that that's something that'll happen.
I think that one gets done. I'm hoping tomorrow morning, wake up around 9 o'clock and seeing Mark Guehi has permission to go to travel to Liverpool for his medical, and then all eyes will focus on Newcastle and what they're doing. Ideally, Strand Larsen gets his deal bid accepted by Wolves, and that happens tomorrow, and then we can get Alexander Isak. But I think it's going to be deadline day now.
We might even get a deal sheet. We haven't gotten a deal sheet in a long time.
Oh, who was the last time?
I don't know. In the chat, someone tell us, who was the last deal sheet for Liverpool?
Yeah, that's going to be going back. That's going to be going back.
Might be before my time. Well, not before my time, but before my memory kicks in.
Exactly. Yeah, it's Saturday night and it's late. So yeah,
no, it's not great. There's a couple more rumors going on. It says from Romano, it says Liverpool sources remain optimistic to sign Alexander Isak. Liverpool were offered 3 or 4 important players this week, but they only want Isak.
that kind of stands up to what you'd expect from the way that who was it? Was it Arne Slot gave an interview to Sky talking about transfers? I'm sure it was Slot, and he was talking about when they go after a player that they want, the club focus on the player that they want. Yes, they'll have a plan B and a plan C, but it's plan A that they want, and they'll focus on that until that's completely exhausted. And he made that point strongly, really talking about Ekitike. And it tallies up with what we've all been, reading about the reports with him, that that the club were talking to him back in February and March. That this didn't just spring up because Newcastle were interested or Newcastle put a bid in. Is that Liverpool have been talking to him for a while. So it tells you the profile of number 9 that they're looking at. The fullbacks, the profile of the fullbacks that they're looking to bring in. All of the players, the business that we've done so far this summer has all been about the profile that they can add to the squad. So, yeah, I fully expect us to get these 2 over the line. It's just going to be one of those things.
Patience is a virtue. And we only need 2 more days of patience. Davey T says that he has carried Isak himself on his back. So maybe that's how he got to that random little hotel outside of Liverpool.
Davey, Dave, I can completely understand from a Newcastle point of view. We're in the same boat. We're sick to the back teeth.
I think everyone just wants a resolution.
At the end of the season, before the window opens, we're all sat there. We're all excited. We do transfer shows, and who are we going to target? And we're going to get this, and this deal done, and he's going to be sold. And then we let Keith sell everybody. And we get to the end of the window. We're like, for God's sake, will it ever end? Well, it is going to end Monday, 7 p.m. Cannot wait.
Yeah, there's a few people that have mentioned there's ads on this show. It is not something that we set up. Every once in a while, YouTube kind of rejigs the algorithm and throws in ads on shows that are not supposed to have them. So I was the one that set up the show. I know Matt is blaming Gav in the golf cart. So I did not set up the show with ads. So it's something that we will work on and try to rectify. So I apologize. Thank you for
I don't think it's you. I think
it's not really within our control. I think there's like a very specific setting that we have to do on YouTube, and I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. I think it is to do with YouTube and their settings. But look, it is what it is. Tomorrow, post-match, 15 minutes after the final whistle. What do you think we're going to be talking about? Or who do you think we're going to be talking about?
I hope it's just good things all around. I would love just like you know what? Stop. Don't pull the grumpy Kev shit now.
No, who are you going to be coming on with your hair frizzled all over the place? Who's going to be in your crosshairs?
I don't know. I'm hoping that nobody is in my crosshairs. I'm hoping that I come on tomorrow and I'm absolutely thrilled with the result and with a couple of new signings and like everything's super jolly and happy and sunny. And then I could have like lobster rolls and champagne on Monday and it'll be fantastic. So I'm putting that out in the universe. We're going to do great things. Everything's going to be fine. Arteta's going to cry in the background with his raw chicken and his little support dog. It'll be great. Everything's going to be fine. So that's my vision. Do not rain on my parade.
I'm here for that one. We're going to have that show and it's going to be absolutely belting. But on that note,
I think that's it for tonight. I really, really appreciate everyone that's in here. And yeah, come support us tomorrow. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it'll be fantastic. I'm going to throw that out in the universe and that's how we're going to leave. The Reds are going to do fantastic tomorrow and we're going to get some signings. Everything's going to be fantastic. So thank you again. And we're going to close out the show. So Kev, can you kind of hit that button and lead us out and we will see you all tomorrow.